Well, lots to munch on, and lots of great opportunities before us. You won't hear us do either or. You won't hear us play off models against each other. It's all about being obedient to the Spirit, to the Lord of the harvest within the context He calls us to. But we do know that there are peoples that will not be reached even in our own nation unless the Spirit and His creativity doesn't breathe into us and give us wisdom and direction. So if I can finish the Pan Am illustration, I was very conscious of the fact that I was in Eastern Ontario. I was very conscious of the fact that I was serving in a location that when we all emptied the place out and they did the overlay changes and turned it back over to the developer, that within a short period of time, 10,000 new people would suddenly live in a community that didn't even exist before. And to my knowledge, we had no real strategy about how to be present within that entirely new community. And I do feel under our current leadership, not just mine or Craig's, but I mean as a fellowship as a whole, we need to recapture that pioneering spirit where there was not going to be a new community along the highway in Canada, that there wasn't going to be some Pentecostal person that wouldn't show up and see how God would use them to start a church there and bring a witness. And if that's true of communities along the highway, I think it's also true of communities within urban and suburban areas as well, that we have to always be open to how God wants us to have presence, to be raising up young men and young women and others who will serve within those contexts. So that's what it brings us down to, is what's the Spirit speaking to us right now about planting, partnering, and providing, both in Canada and even internationally. And so we are going to drift back down the hallway so that you can enjoy a coffee, so that you can sit around a table. But we are asking you, if you're here with more than one person from your setting, to be sitting with them as well, and responding to these sheets that you'll find on the table. And we want very specific responses as the Lord's prompting you. First of all, in your setting, what are the opportunities and obstacles to planting, partnering, and providing for a new disciple-making community, and how are you engaging and addressing this? So it does come down to you really hearing from the Lord, and we don't assume that you're just starting today as far as your ponderings about this, but just next step, how's the Spirit working on you about where are the opportunities? Where's God's call? Is it to partner with another church and see an entirely new church planted, and what's the process for that? Is it something more incarnational and to be supportive and champion of people like Karen or others that need to get into certain aspects of your community? So that's a very practical question. And then secondly, so what resources, partnerships would be beneficial? This will really provide wisdom for us as your leaders working nationally and in districts and so on, and sections. Are we providing the resourcing, the strengthening to see these new initiatives take place? And this is your opportunity to communicate about that. And even from what you heard from our international friends, what's the lessons learned from what they shared, and to ensure that we don't forget some of the pragmatics that were shared there as relates back to our own setting, and also be reminded that we can participate in planting internationally. And many of us have been engaged that way, where we've been in partnerships in order to see churches planted in other nations. Personally, I was involved in church planting in Hungary, and so there are those opportunities there where our churches can be multiplying, not just in the Canadian context, but internationally. So there's those three areas that we'd like you to really respond as much as you feel you can today. Do it as a team, if you're here as a team, if you're the pastor who's here, and we certainly would like to hear from you as well. So I'm even going to ask you to be so brave as if you happen to be named Hallowell and you live in Brighton, just on that form to write Brighton and just communicate to us what you sense the Lord speaking to you about from Brighton. Are you prepared to do that? I hope so, because I really want your wife to still have her job when this is over. So, all right. So we'll do this. We'll go into the room. You can grab another coffee. You can